Welcome back to my series about the 2024 US presidential election. And in this video, I would love to talk about what does J.D. Vance add to the Trump ticket. And astrology can basically help us understand three things about relationships. The first is what kind of different perspective do they bring? How do they look at the world differently or not? The second thing is how does their style in doing things either complement, reinforce, or create conflict in the relationship? And the third thing is how the timing of the way they do things, again, complement, reinforce, or create conflict in the relationship. And we're going to deal with just the first question of looking at that worldview or perspective. So I'm going to share my screen. What we've got here are these broad outlines of the two charts. I've got Donald Trump on top, J.D. Vance on the bottom, and I've eliminated all of the distractions of the natal planets and things, so you only have the outline. And this shows the worldview or perspective on life that each of them has. And the way to tell is you can look at this ascendant, which is this horizontal line on the left side of the chart, and look, they both have Leo. In other words, they both like to offer their gifts and have them received in those experiences of collective emotion. Think rallies, think places where everyone's trying to get together on the same page. Neither one of them wants to be embarrassed. Neither one wants to be humiliated, especially in those situations. Another thing to look at is, like, you can see that the degrees here are very similar. Donald's is at 29 degrees, 58 minutes. I actually think it's 30 personally, of Leo. JD's is at 28, almost 28. We can also look at, in terms of, how identical are these charts, is at the midheaven, which is this heavy line which points to the top of the chart. And here, both in Taurus, they make their impact on the world. They start making their impact on the world with their presence, with their tools, with their resources. And JD, his is a little earlier at 22 degrees, Donald's at 24. And if you look at each of these pie slices, these are the areas of life or houses, you could almost superimpose them. So what does this mean? This means that J.D. Vance essentially adds nothing to the ticket in terms of perspective. In other words, think about two swordsmen fighting together. When they are fighting, if they have the same perspective, they are always looking at the fight in the same direction, in the same way. And so they have a massive blind spot behind them, and hopefully someone on their team is covering that. But together, essentially, they will deal with things in a very similar, with a similar view on what needs to be done. Whereas if they had charts that were oriented opposite, it would be like two swordsmen fighting back to back. One's gonna deal with the front and the other one's gonna deal with the back, or someone's got their back, essentially. So I hope that helps. I'll cover the other two topics in future videos. Let me know if you have any questions.